It is very difficult to explain to people who are not into our thing, our hobby, what it really means to collect, paint, and basically play with what we could make akin to toys. Every time somebody asks me, what is my favorite hobby or what do I do on my free time, I kind of freeze out. I'm not really sure how to explain that I get small pieces of plastic and lead, paint them, and then I push them around on a table to represent armies or heroes fighting against each other. When I think about how many years it took me to paint all the miniatures that you see on the screen right now, on and off, it is an even more fascinating topic because I have to explain how much money and time and effort I actually sunk onto this. So the following video is a testament to 30 years of passion and of what it is Transylvania in the Warhammer world. Buckle up, brass lickers, it's going to be a wild, bloody ride. Like many of you who have been doing this for a while, I'm pretty sure there are very personal reasons why you started collecting the armies that you now own and display very proudly in your cabinets at home or in a store where you usually play. My reason was Castlevania. My first video game ever was Castlevania 2 Simon Belmont. I was hooked from the beginning in this epic tale of somebody slaying skeletons, zombies, and basically all the undead nastiness that you can find in the woods of Transylvania. When I bought my first White Dwarf in 1993 and I checked all the pictures and the incredible stuff that was going on in the pages of that magazine, I was very surprised to see at the end, in the pages where they will tell you how much of a list there was and what was there for sale, that there were undead. Skeletons, zombies, all those kind of things that I was slaying in video games back then. I was obviously already committed to it. So I think it's a very good idea when you start collecting an army to find something that you're passionate about or that stirs something inside of you. Otherwise, it's going to be something that it doesn't talk to you, and the amount of time and effort and money that you're going to sink into it will somewhat not be relevant after a while. So the first lesson that I can give you from my perspective is that you need to find something that really tugs at the strings that are attached to your heart. You have to find your personal reasoning behind it, but most people that I met, and they have been doing this for a while, they usually chose an army that said something to them specifically. You will see in the skeletons that there are many different types of miniatures here. I have poached many times over my HeroQuest collections, and I have included some of those both in my skeleton units and in my zombie units. The Milton Bradley games, Battle Masters, and HeroQuest were some of the places that when we were younger and we didn't have money to buy miniatures, we could get our armies built from. Another great way of saving money is making unit fillers. The concept is very simple. A unit filler is usually a bigger base that represents a few extra soldiers in your unit. Skeleton and zombies had 20 by 20 mm square bases. These ones that I'm showing you now are 40 by 40 mm. That means that they represent 4 zombies or 4 skeletons. The idea is very simple. Just get a few bits from your bit box and put them together into something that represents something cool for your army. In my case, a few tombs or something like that. When it comes to collecting something for so many years, there is always a couple of things that you're bound to do. The first one is that you're going to improve your painting skills, and some of my miniatures have been painted or repainted a couple of times. But now I don't do that anymore. I have decided already that I'm gonna stick to a consistent way of painting them, and that's that. Armies are huge commitments that take many months to paint, and because we have to do the same thing over and over again, we have to compromise our quality level somehow. The idea is here that we are not painting for Instagram, we are not painting for YouTube, we are not painting to show off single miniatures, but a general idea, a general concept with the army. Collecting an army takes many years, and you will see that in mine there are different periods of miniatures. Therefore, the only tying factor between them is the paint job. So I said it before in a previous video, mediocrity, it's good enough. What I mean by this is not that you should paint poorly, is that you should find a level that you are comfortable repeating over and over again. I think it's important that we agree on something. Most of us do not have the time, energy, or means to paint at a very high level every single miniature for our armies. So accept your limitations, try to improve, but enjoy the hobby in a healthy way. You just have to paint miniatures to play games with. I remember an anecdote here whilst we look at the characters in my army, and is that when I was a little bit younger, I had a girlfriend and I painted a miniature specifically to look like her. This was, well, a whim of the past, and I had actually two versions made of her. The first one I gifted it to my ex-girlfriend, and the current version is nowadays part of my army. Which brings me to the next thing, and it's a mistake of sorts somehow. I'm not really sure, you decide and you tell me in the comments below. So what I did is I gifted that miniature to my ex, and I would rather have that miniature nowadays because it's a memento, something that I did back then. 50-50, because when I painted it, I already considered giving it as a gift. So what I'm trying to say here is that if you paint something with your heart, don't give it away. Unless you are making money out of selling miniatures and this is your business, or it's something that you have already thought that you're going to do with your miniatures, you're going to sell them or you're going to give them to somebody as a gift, then don't part ways with them. I've seen so many comments over in Facebook, in YouTube, in many places, complaining about having sold their beloved armies. And there are many memories attached to them, like when we play with certain friends or family members, or when we spend those afternoons painting the miniatures, watching movies, and etc. It is interesting because sometimes when I hold some of the miniatures that I have painted along the years, I can remember the music I was listening to during the time that I was painting them, or the movies, or the people I was talking to, or the battles. Many things come back to you. It's like losing your family album of photographies. So basically, to sum it up, don't sell or give away your miniatures unless you really need the money or you already made a commitment to do that with somebody that you actually care for and you know you're going to be able to see them again. Disclaimer here, this doesn't apply to the big pile of shame that you might be hoarding in your storage room or in your cabinet. So if you are not gonna paint them, how about giving them a nice house to go to? Like mine, for instance. And just kidding, I have plenty of problems of my own. You probably have noticed that there are a lot of whites in my army. Many of them. My Grave Guard has been converted with the old 6th edition Dark Elves and a few bits here and there from skeletons. I also added a little bit of green stuff to make coifs and hats, helmets, and I just painted them accordingly. This was done in order to save money because I was a poor teenager back then. Whites in general are my favorite unit in the army. I don't really know why, maybe because I'm from an area where there are Neolithic and ancient tombs and we talk about treasures hidden in the mountains beneath, rocks or inside caves. We don't have many barrows where I'm from, but the stories of ancient kings and noblemen that have been buried and cast spells upon them to protect their own belongings sounds very cool to me. When it comes to Black Knights, for whatever reason, I just have way too many of them. I have so many of them that I cannot even field all of them into my army when it's around 2,000 to 3,000 points. It is exaggerated collectionism here, and to be honest, I don't care. I just love the miniatures so much and I like what they represent so much that I just had to have as many of them as possible. So this is the reason why I have so many Black Knights in the army. Because vampire counts were not renowned for having a lot of oomph in their punching, you needed to have a couple of things that will do the job for you. The Undead and Vampire Count armies were always quite interesting in the representation of what they actually did in the battlefield. They were not good at shooting, barely any shooting whatsoever was there present after 5th edition, and mostly the miniatures didn't actually punch that hard. However, we had a few key components in the army that would be very, very worrisome for most opponents. Adding to that the fact that the Undead never run away, and that they also made the other armies run away easily, yeah, the army was a little bit broken at times, and it was very fun to play with, but not much to play against with a skilled opponent, which I'm not, by the way. Although the model for the Terrorgeist is very cool, it is also very big and flimsy and not my cup of tea, because I want to transport my armies to tournaments. So mine are made with a couple of toy dinosaur skeletons and a little bit of green stuff, as well as some spare pieces from the real Terrorgeist model. It is these small details that I think that bring a lot of personality to your armies, which is just adding conversions and models that you make yourself somehow. This Vargulf, on the other hand, is converted from a Bones miniature that was extensively sculpted on. And this other one is the old Dragon Zombie from Sid Meier. Todd Meier. Tom Meier, Miguel. Tom Meier. Overall, my army includes quite an eclectic collection of miniatures. Some of them are not Citadel, some of them are old, some of them are a little bit more new. Regardless, the idea was to build an army over many years. 30 years in the making. It's a lot of time for you to be able to collect a lot of miniatures. So, I don't know if you agree with me or not, but for me, going back to the first army that got me into the hobby is always such a fuzzy, warm feeling in the inside, if you can say that about skeletons and zombies, of course. It is always nice to see the miniatures that I painted 20, 25, 30 years ago and get a grasp of what I felt back then. In my Dungeonvania series, I will still be painting Undead for you to maybe try to copy the things that I do. Watch this next. Remember, my name is Miguel. This is Rastawash, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Un beso. Adios.